I'm pushing back against the narrative that teachers have to be all things to all students at all times. Like that's not realistic. We are in these kids' lives for most of us 10 months out of their lives. And we make a huge impact. We definitely have an influence, but we can only do so much. And we will only be able to do that good for a short amount of time if we don't set boundaries to keep ourselves healthy.
Hey teachers, welcome to Teacher Talking. And we haven't met yet. My name is John, and today I have my friend Kelly McLeod in the Teacher Talk studio. And she started a movement called the Rested Teacher Rebellion. And she uses that movement to push back on some of the common narratives in the teaching profession that are causing teachers to be burned out. So don't go anywhere. Stay strong, keep teaching, and here's Kelly. When did it hit you that you weren't just tired, but you were actually burnt out? What was that moment, and what did it feel like?
Well, I can't say it was one exact moment. There are 3 moments throughout my career where I can say things really hit me. When I first started teaching and I had young kids, I remember staring at the calendar in my kitchen and just thinking, there's no way I can do everything that's asked of me. And then shortly after that, I had my 4th child, and I actually left the classroom, and I thought, I'm not coming back. There's just no way I can be a mom and a teacher. It just takes too much. Yeah. But then, life and money, and you have to work. So I ended up back in the classroom. Yeah, I ended up back in the classroom, which was not a huge regret of mine. I love teaching. But it was after, 2021, I went through a divorce. And when that divorce was final, I looked at my teaching partner and I said, I have just got to take a year of rest, because it was a combination. Like, teaching sucks so much out of you. The system sucks so much out of you that it does not allow for both, the ups and downs of real life, and for you to be as fully present. That's probably not the right word. Teaching wants you to give more than you have. And so anyway, I looked at my teaching partner and I just said, I need a full year rest. And what I meant by that, what I told her was, I'm not going to say yes to anything that I don't absolutely have to do. So I had to show up to work. And I'm not going to say yes to anything that I don't want to do. That is absolutely right. And that was the moment. I mean, that was the epitome, like the straw that broke the camel's back. I was like, I can't keep giving everything and then be a human at the same time.
Absolutely. So, one of the things that I heard you say right there, and this is a common refrain in, the teacher burnout talk, is that we absolutely love what it is that we do, but the profession is asking for more than what is actually humanly possible. I think about just paperwork alone as it relates for ESE students, 504 students, and the amount of documentation and accommodations, and then lesson plans and all the other stuff that comes along. It absolutely takes a 100% drain on you. It requires about 54 hours a week for the average teacher. And so I'm wondering, what were some of the signs that you felt or that you recognized when you said, hey, something's wrong?
Well, guilt. I mean, guilt for not being able to get everything on my to-do list done. I mean, that was a constant weight on me.
100%.
Not just in the classroom, but at home too, because by the time you get home, you've made so many decisions and completed so many tasks that you just can't. I couldn't be there for my family. I would go into my bedroom, shut the door, and put a sticky note on the outside that just said, don't even knock.
Right. Don't knock.
And it was just, it's not fair to my family to be in that position.
That is 100%. That is good stuff. The amount of teachers that actually, we have to we cheat our family out of good quality time and, being present in times when we need to be present, because the truth of the matter is that we use our, if I could use an analogy of a bucket, we have a bucket over here of our presence and we pour it all out over here in the classroom, and then we get home
Mhm.
and we don't have anything left to give.
Right.
So one of the things that I heard you say is, you have a family, 4 kids, and obviously money was part of the reason why most teachers stay, because they really don't feel like teachers really don't feel like they can go outside of their profession. They feel like they're
Mhm.
stuck. So, what really helped you during that time? Was it grit? Was it faith? Was it just, you went in survival mode? I mean, tell us about that.
A little bit of it all, really, but,
Mhm.
I think, um, being a single mom, I had to, number 1,
Yes.
but I
Your
had to
kids
change my
needed
mind.
you.
Yeah, my children needed me,
Mhm.
but I had to change. That was not sustainable, just telling myself, "You have to stay for the money," like, that. I
Mhm.
had to go back to why I started teaching in the first place. Like, I truly believed when I started teaching that this was, um, my service to my community. This was my mission field, and so
Absolutely.
I had to get back somehow to believing that,
Yes.
um, and I couldn't believe that if I was constantly thinking about how tired I was, how much the system was taking out of me,
Mhm.
how much, I wasn't like, all the negative thoughts running through my head, I could not remember.
Mhm.
I hate to say the toxic thing, but I couldn't remember my why, you know?
That so it's
Yeah.
okay, and I know a lot of times that is used as a guilt term by our
Yeah.
administrators and this and that and the other.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, a human being has to have purpose. And
Correct.
if we don't feel or believe that there's purpose in what we're doing, it becomes very difficult to continue doing what it is that
Mhm.
we're trying to do. Whatever it is, doesn't matter if it's teaching or if it's, for this matter, social media and YouTube and podcasting or whatever it is, it doesn't make any difference. You will
Mhm.
very quickly, without purpose, run out of steam. So what do you think? What was the lowest point, Kelly, of your burnout journey, and what got you through the week or the month or the year or whatever it was?
I think the lowest point was when I was just showing up and doing the bare minimum, and, not caring.
Yeah.
Um And I know you use the term quiet quitting, but in a positive way. I was definitely doing it
Yes.
in the negative way. Um,
Yeah.
but what got me through was my teaching partner. I mean, she was great. Whenever, yeah, she was just an encouragement.
Hmm.
She really was. Whenever, I couldn't do anymore, she would help, pick up.
Right.
But also when she caught me, um going against my year of rest, like, "Okay, I'm just gonna do this one more thing." She would remind
Right.
me. She'd be like,
She
"No,
would stop you.
Kelly."
So
Mhm.
she held you accountable.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. Yep,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, you know, I as a survivor of burnout, and I use that term seriously. I mean, I became the number one toxic employee, I think, in the
Mm.
entire organization. And I'm like number 3 in charge of the school. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
wow. Mhm, yeah.
And so that's never good for an organization. But I was so toxic. And I heard you kind of say that's exactly what was happening to you, because you quiet quit, but in a negative way. In other words, you didn't
Mhm,
care. And
mhm.
that's exactly what happened to me. So when I use the term quiet quit, you're absolutely right. I mean it in a positive way. We're quiet quitting in that we're setting appropriate boundaries. We're
Right.
still being professional and we're still meeting our obligations, but we are not allowing the system or the job to drive us to be the driver of what we do. We
Yeah.
allow our students, number one, to be the driver, and number two, we allow our own personal health to be the driver. Because I
Mhm.
believe the best thing that we can do for our students and for our schools, by the way, is to give them the most healthiest version of ourselves. And it
Absolutely.
seems to me that that's exactly what you've chosen to do, because, burnout, I've watched many teachers walk out the door from burnout and,
Mhm.
and break down emotionally and break down completely in a classroom and throw their entire career away over a moment with a student. But you turned this into a movement. What sparked your movement? What sparked the birth of the Rested? Is it Rested Teacher Rebellion? Is that what it is? Or am I saying it
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
How
you
what
are.
what started that? I am so curious about that, and I think it's great,
Um,
by the way.
just an accident, really. I was on TikTok, and well, I guess I should back up. Before it was ever called Rested Teacher Rebellion, um, people in my school started noticing I was setting boundaries, and then asked me about it, and then I was
Mhm.
encouraging other people to set boundaries too, especially the ones that I could see were either in burnout or in the verge of burnout.
Right.
But then I got on TikTok like everybody else in the world, and I noticed that the narrative around teaching is we're burnout, we're tired, the system
Right.
stinks, and there's nothing you can do about it. But that's not
Right.
true.
That's not
Um,
true. That's
that's not
100%.
true.
That's 100% accurate. Kelly, I was exactly like you. Okay. So I would have been better. I think my audience would have grown quickly on or more quicker on TikTok and YouTube had I come out
Mhm.
and talked about all the reasons why I quit, why
Right.
everything's so terrible,
Mhm.
why it sucks so much. But after 2.5 years of healing, that's not what I wanted to do. I think I want teachers to stay teaching and stop
Yes.
quitting. But I
Yes.
also want them to understand that at the end of the day, they can make provisions to take care of themselves. It's not going to make the job any easier. Teaching is hard and it's always going to be hard.
Mhm.
There's never going to be a day when teaching is easy, but we can mitigate things. And so, you call it a rebellion, and that's pretty strong language right there. Whenever I think about a rebellion, I'm kind of thinking about that
Yeah.
kid that's in class that just threw something at my head because they didn't want to, get up and move seats. Is that kind of what you're talking about? Is that the kind of rebellion that you're aiming
No.
at, or you pushing
No.
it back against education? What is it
Yeah.
what is the central core here of the message?
I'm pushing back against the narrative that teachers have to be all things to all students at all times. Like that's not
Hmm.
realistic.
It's
We
not.
we no, we are in these kids' lives for most of us 10 months out of their lives. And we can only we make a huge impact. We definitely have an influence, but we can only do so much, and we will only be able to do that good for a short amount of time if we don't set boundaries to keep ourselves healthy. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's what my rebellion is against is just that narrative that we are the superheroes and we can fix everything and
Hmm.
we need to work until we're exhausted in order to make a difference.
Yeah.
So,
I, I think some parts of our message kind of overlap because,
yeah.
um, I think there's the idea, and some teachers really feel this way, that they really have to save every student.
Yeah.
In my job as dean of students, I mean, I see some of the worst behaviors that you could possibly imagine. And, the truth is we go a long ways for students, but there does come a time where there has to be a line drawn because I can't save every kid. I can't fix every problem that's in education. And
Mhm.
it's not even really my responsibility to do that because I don't hold the power to do that. I'm wondering though, how have other teachers reacted to your message and to your movement? Has it been
Mhm.
thank you? Has it been pushback? Has it been, hey, you're not a team player? It's just unrealistic. You can't really do the job that way. What is the response that you get from teachers?
I mean, every once in a while, I will get a snarky comment online on social media because that's the best place for people to get away with that. But in my
Mhm.
on campus in my real life and
Right.
through social media, most people are say thank you. I think um, teachers want to set boundaries, but they don't see other people doing it, and so
Right.
they're afraid to do it themselves.
That's right. Do,
Yeah.
so do you think that it's for most teachers, it's just they need just a little nudge?
Hmm.
They're already thinking, "Hey, I'm
Yeah.
already too far." But like you said, I look at everybody else and they're not doing it and they're working themselves. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be the bad part of the organization. So you think they
Right.
just need a little encouragement to do that?
I think they do. And I think a lot of people, even I was when I first started saying, "Okay, no more." They're afraid they're going to be called lazy or not a team player. I have never once been called that. In fact,
Hmm.
I've even gone to my principal. Sorry, can you hear my dog?
So that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
uh, um anyway, a year or 2 ago, I went to my principal and I said, "These are my priorities this year." I think she had asked me to be part of a committee, and I said, "Look, these are my priorities, and this is what I have the bandwidth for." And she was like, "Okay, I respect that." And, sh since then, she's never asked me to do anything above and beyond what she knows I can handle.
Hmm.
And, on campus, people are often like, "Okay, how do I say no?" And
Right.
I just give them the best
Yep.
advice I can. Yeah.
I I think that this may be the most important part of the entire conversation that we're having, because I too, like you, and I know we've discussed it on social media and TikTok live,
Mhm.
the number one thing that I did that freed me up and allowed me to fully begin to heal was 2 weeks before the 2024 school year, sitting with my principal and AP and just laying out for them where I was
Mhm.
at, what I would be willing to do,
Yeah.
what I'm not willing to do. And they never looked up. They nodded their head. They took notes. It really wasn't even a conversation. It was a declaration to some degree,
Mhm.
and they honored that. They have never violated what that conversation included. And I think teachers are afraid to have that
Yeah.
conversation because
Yeah.
they're afraid, and they could be right in their situation. There may be some
Yeah.
administration that would push back at them or,
Mhm.
mistreat them. But I think in a vast majority of cases that administrators would respect the wishes of teachers. What do you
I
think about that? Am I just off
I
track
agree.
here?
I agree. I mean, I'm not delusional and think that all administrators are
Mhm.
great. I know, like you said,
Right.
I think there are some out there that, um, will take advantage of the people that don't set boundaries. And I
Sure.
think there
Well,
are some that take advantage and don't realize they're taking advantage.
I
Um
think you're 100% right. I think that administrators do what administrators do. When they have
Mhm.
somebody that they know is willing to do things, they will continue to go right back to that well.
Yeah.
Right. And, there is on the part of teachers the desire to be a part of the
Right.
organization. We want to be helpful.
Right.
But in the midst of that, we don't realize that we're ultimately and finally, if we're not careful, we're going to put ourselves into a spot where we're going to learn to hate the very thing that we loved at one time. Don't
Right.
you do you think that that's what happened to you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know how many times I it was in my mind, okay, what else can I do with my teaching degree? I don't know how many times I was searching for other, you know,
Oh, me
like
too.
Googling what do you do with a teaching degree or searching for
Yes.
influencers that have left the profession.
Right.
Um, but I also recognized that that's not my calling, you know.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
mine either. I did everything I could for years, well, for a couple years, because I was so frustrated. And I mean, it finally came in a like it seemed like it happened overnight, but it didn't.
Mhm.
And I could not get away from where I was at. And I
Yeah.
I simply accept, and they're very difficult. I call these the no's of God. And he seems to say no far more than he says yes to me. I just got to be honest with you. That's just
Yeah.
the way I feel. But he says this is where you're going to be. And so that's what I have to do. And I had to come to grips with that
Yeah.
personally. So you're not just a theory. And this is what I like about it. You're not just theorizing that this is what teachers should do or what you should do. But let me ask you a question. What is, if you could possibly narrow it down, what's one boundary that you set that you think may have saved your teaching career?
I quit rearranging my schedule for every ask. So what I mean there's a lot of boundaries that I've set, big and small, but one that I think for me, this is a big one for me is like when I get asked to do something at school, I will not rearrange my calendar to make it happen. So for example, if I'm asked to come in for a meeting or take on a task, but it conflicts with my kids' cross country
Hmm.
meet, I'm
Yep.
not gonna try to make both of them happen. I'm gonna say
Hmm.
no, and I'm gonna go to my kid's cross country meet. That
Absolutely.
that's a huge one for me. I mean, there's other ones like, I try hard not to stay past my contract hours. I don't
Right.
bring work home anymore.
Right.
Um, but that's my biggest one is
I
if
you're
I already have something
100%
on the
right.
calendar, it's staying on the calendar.
So that's one of the things that we've talked about is that, we gotta, if you're going to make it work, it takes some proactive steps on the part of the teacher. You got
Mhm.
to sit down, you got to intentionally schedule things on your calendar and
Right.
say to yourself that I'm not going to change my schedule. I mean, unless it's like the end of the world
Right.
emergency, I'm not
Mhm.
going to change my schedule for this. I'm going to go to XYZ, whatever it is. And the only way that you should take on anything extra at school is if there is space in your calendar to do that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that is critical in my opinion. And there's all kinds of tools today that help us, like Notion and even Google Calendar will help you with that. And it's so there's all types of things that teachers can do to get that down. So walk us through a kind of like a day in your life. What does realistic rest practice look like when you've still got papers to grade and lesson plans to make, and it's Monday, it's already 5 o'clock, and you've said this is the end of it? What are you going to do
Mhm.
when Tuesday comes and you still got all this work?
Yeah. Well, I try. I think I already said this, but I try really hard to work within my. Sorry, my dog is snoring again, and I apologize.
That's okay.
Um, uh, I try really hard to work within my contract hours, and I would say probably 80 to 90% of the time I'm working within
Yeah.
my contract hours. But in order to do that, I do think like I batch my tasks.
Mm,
I reuse lesson plans. I
hmm.
utilize AI. I'm not ashamed to say that.
I'm not
Um,
either.
yeah. And if things don't get done, someone said to me a long time ago, and I wish I could give credit to whoever it was.
Mhm.
If it didn't get done in the 24 hours that God gave you, it was not on his to-do list for you.
it it was not.
Yeah. So I remind myself of that quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I live less than a mile from where I teach. So it
Hmm.
could be really easy for me to just, oh, I'm just going to run back to school and grab that one thing and get it done. But once I'm home and I'm
Yes.
home with the kids, this is where I stay.
You get to
You know,
stay home.
I stay
I
home
I'm
with the
so
kids.
glad I live
Yeah.
like 35 minutes away from my school, because I think I would absolutely do exactly what you're talking about. I think I would
Mm,
run right back to school. Anytime the fire alarm goes off in the middle of the night, I would go up there and take care, all the things that
yeah.
happen in a big building. So let me ask you a question.
Mhm.
You've written that your worth isn't tied to your output.
Yeah.
Now, that is a radical thought in this culture, because I really believe that we live in a hustle based, performance
Mhm.
based culture.
Yeah.
How did you start to make yourself believe that that was not true? How did you convince yourself, my value is not tied to what I produce? How did you do that?
Oh, I had to believe everything that Jesus said about me. Like, I'm made in the image of God,
Hmm.
and I was purchased with the blood of the Lamb. And
That's right.
I know Rest to Teach Rebellion is not a faith based movement, but um, it would not exist if I did not believe that my value is simply in who Jesus says I am and not in what society wants me to be, which is
Hmm.
somebody who produces and goes and does all the things. Like you
Right.
said, a hustle
It
based
certainly
culture.
is.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, and we talked about it just a little bit previously, is that teachers are constantly asked to be everything to everybody.
Hmm. Hmm.
And in some ways, the Apostle Paul said that. He says, "Hey, I've become all things to all people, so that by all means some might be saved."
Hmm.
But I don't think that when he said that he meant becoming everything to everyone.
Right.
So, how do you guide teachers around you to let go of the impossible weight of being the pleaser of everybody? How do you do it?
Yeah. Well, I remind them that they're only human. The superhero narrative is a lie.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
if they do not take care of themselves, they will not be here for anybody. You know, um, boundaries they're not selfish. They're,
They're not.
they're
They-
not.
They're not. So, I know that that I've done a lot of our content talking about the fact that teachers are not superheroes
Mhm.
and we do not have superpowers. You kind of hear that all along or
Mhm.
along the way. And I know some of that's like tongue in cheek, just talking
Yeah,
about the respect of teachers and the greatness
correct.
of the profession, but we're not superheroes and we don't have superpowers. We are uh, very vulnerable as individuals, I think. So, in a lot of what you do, especially your content on TikTok, is you're pretty vulnerable in your material. So I'm wondering, has that changed your relationships with students? Because I think you're in elementary school, right? So I'm in middle
Yes.
high school. So
Mhm.
these guys are trolling my social media all the time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But has your vulnerability and opening up, has it changed the relationships with your students? Has it made it tighter? Has it caused any
Oh,
problems or?
absolutely. I think, one of the most vulnerable things for any human to do is admit they're wrong and apologize.
Hmm.
And, that's one of the things. Like, I will make mistakes with my students in the classroom all the time. I'll lose my temper, I will forget to do something, um, but when I come back and I repair and I apologize,
Right.
that always there for the first time I have to do it, and because I have to do it multiple times this school year, but the first time I come back and not only say the words, but they can see that I mean it, through my actions, they're always just like, "What? An adult is admitting they've made mistakes
Hmm.
and trying to make things better." So, yeah, being vulnerable with kids, absolutely, absolutely, uh, strengthens relationships, you know?
I think it's the best equity that you can build with a student. I,
Mhm,
I remember last year, girl, she got put out of class. She came up there. She was very upset. I'd already seen the referral, and I didn't pay attention to anything she was saying.
mhm,
I just took the referral and I just went with it. And she got very upset with me. She came to the next day and she told me, right? And I stood there. She said, "What I wanted to say, right? That you wouldn't listen to." And I listened to her and I thought about that all day. And I called her back up and I said, "Look, I said, I have worked for years to build a relationship with you. And in one moment, I feel like I ruined that. And I just wanted
mhm.
to bring you here. And I wanted to apologize to you because I did not listen to you at all." And I'm going to tell you, it changed the entire dynamic of that relationship. It deepened it and made it more personable. And beyond that, now with that student, if they're out of line a little bit, I have some leverage
Yeah,
to bring them back into line that doesn't require referrals or force or anything like that.
mhm.
And so
Absolutely.
from that perspective, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Um, if you could write a teacher contract, what would you, if anything, take out of it, or
Yeah.
what would you add into it?
Yeah, there was I wrote this down because there was language in our contract a couple years ago that is now removed thanks to our union, and it drove me nuts for it was in here for years, and I'm gonna read it to you, and it is, you'll just know why it's horrible. Teachers shall spend time outside of building hours to the extent necessary for adequate preparation for instruction, pupil and parent consultation, curriculum functions, and other activities related to instruction.
Hmm.
Spend time outside of building
Right.
hours. And
That's
I know
right.
that is because traditionally teachers are expected to
Hmm.
just get it done at all costs.
Yeah.
And that's what that sentence is saying in a very,
That is
it,
exactly what the sentence
mm-hmm,
says, because when you use the word shall, it means
yep,
you're going to do this.
mm-hmm,
And that is the biggest crux or the biggest, I think it's really the biggest problem in education is that there really is by the system an expectation that teachers will
mm-hmm,
work unpaid
all the
overtime.
time. Mm-hmm,
You will work
yep,
it
yep,
and we do not care.
yep.
And if you don't, it's going to show up in your evaluation. And I don't know how Oregon works. Florida, you are everybody in Florida is on a year to year contract. All the tenured teachers are just about out of the business now because they've
Wow.
worked them out by attrition. You cannot be tenured in Florida. So there's literally zero protection for you in Florida.
Wow.
And that is exactly that is exactly the expectation that's set forth by districts. So how how do you think that comes across to new teachers or uh, folks that are coming maybe from a non-teaching background into education? Do you think that that makes them feel like they have to do stuff?
Language like this?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially when they see other teach like when everyone else on campus is there an hour or two past
Hmm.
quitting time, or they've come in a month before school even starts. um they just assume, well, it is the norm, and if they want to be
Hmm.
successful, then they have to do that. But just because something's the norm does not mean it's healthy
No, it's not.
or
Um,
necessary.
so it so is your goal, as you know, with the Rest It Teacher Rebellion, is your goal to help teachers locally or also wherever or as far as your
Yeah.
reach can go?
I mean,
So maybe is there a priority on locally helping teachers, or is the priority just teachers in general?
yeah. Well, anyone in my real life that I see face to face is definitely my priority, right?
Hmm.
But I mean, the internet goes far and wide. So anybody that'll listen, I will talk to. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. And I would love to see less bags under teachers' eyes. People that are there. Um, I mean, we're it's an exhausting job. So there's always going to be, a little bit of tired throughout the school year. But I would just love to see people show up with, like you say, with joy for what they
Yes.
do. Yeah.
Yes, because I don't think teaching ought to be this hard,
Mm-mm.
but it really is. You know, again, you know, there's a lot of complaints about stuff that's going on in education. We can talk about the behavior problems, we can talk
Mm-hmm.
about lack of support,
Mm-hmm.
but the biggest problem is the actual unsaid, implied expectation that you are going to go way above and beyond any other
Mm-hmm.
profession
Mm-hmm.
in order to complete your job.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we're talking 52 to 54 hours per week per teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And in America, the average contract is somewhere between 30 to 35 hours. Some districts I know are 40 hours, but most are not. And so you're talking 20 hours a week of unpaid overtime. What at one of the lowest paid professional salaries in
Mm-hmm.
the business.
Mm-hmm.
How does that even make sense? And it doesn't.
It
And it
doesn't.
takes new teachers who come out of school, and it literally works them to death.
Yeah.
To get it, it takes every bit of 3 to 5 years as a brand new teacher just to get your feet underneath of you. So, how many new teachers turned over at your school? How many do you see
In
on
my
average?
build,
Do you think?
um,
Hmm.
in my building this year, we had none,
You didn't have any new teachers
which
turnover.
is the first time in a long time,
Hmm.
because I probably 2 years ago it was 50%.
Absolutely. Do
Yeah.
you think that's because is that because of any maybe mentoring or talking or helping that you've done by chance?
Well, I hope so.
I
I hope,
hope so
but
too.
yeah. But
Be,
we also have a very strong union who we set boundaries in paper. Like, you're
right.
not
And
you're not going to make us work past our contract hours, and if you do, you're going to give us trade time, or you're going to pay us.
right.
And yeah.
So you've been working at this for a couple of years. What do you hope that your movement looks like in, say, the next 4 to 5 years?
Yeah. This I hope this isn't wishful thinking, but I really hope that teachers just know that boundaries are possible,
Hmm.
and that with boundaries, if they can love and enjoy. For those teachers that are not loving and enjoying teaching right now, that they can love and enjoy teaching again. That
Oh
they are
yes,
not, yes, the system is broken, but that there's not it's not that there's nothing they can do about it.
I
They have
a hundred
agency.
percent
Yeah.
agree. I I 100% believe that as teachers, we don't have to be loud. We don't have to make demands. We
Mhm.
don't have to make threats. We can
Right.
simply make decisions about how we're going to go about this process, what we're willing to tolerate and what we're not willing to
Yeah.
tolerate as a human being. And we can arrange our lives so that we can get it all done. And like you said, if we don't get it done in the time allotted, it wasn't God's will to begin with. And so we're
Yeah.
not going to worry about it.
Yeah.
So Katie is, or Katie, that's my daughter. Good grief. Kelly. So there it is. My old age is showing up, my 53 years old. As we try to land the plane,
Mhm.
I'm just wondering, there's going to be lots of teachers listening, hopefully, and some of them are going to be hanging on by a thread. What is the one thing that you would say to them directly if they were sitting with you and you could look at them across the table in the eyes? What would
Mhm.
you say to them?
Um, Burnout doesn't have to be the norm. Burnout, absolutely, it does not have to be the day to day. Boundaries are possible. They're not selfish. And when you set them properly, they're just as much for your family and the students that you serve as they are for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I would
Yeah.
encourage them to set them. I think,
Yeah.
every district has its own like intake system where they bring teachers in and talk about the organization and all this other stuff. And I really believe that it would benefit districts to sit down with their teachers and do these wellness checks and help them build their schedules
Mhm.
so that they don't burn out. It doesn't make any sense to me because every year we're going to lose, and I got a small school of only about 550 kids, 6th through 12th grade. We're going to lose 8 or 10 teachers every year. We're going to
Wow.
have to recover that. And some of that's because life changes or whatever.
Yeah.
But I got to think that it takes $100,000 or more to train a brand new teacher. And I would rather, as a district, keep that money in my pocket, number one. And number two, the longevity of the teacher at the school increases student outcomes.
Yeah.
So I would think that would be a better investment. Do you think districts should do that?
That sounds like a wonderful idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll suggest it, huh? And they won't
Yeah.
throw us out.
Yeah.
You think so? Katie,
Great idea.
Kelly, it has been, and there it was again, Katie, my daughter. Goodness. I don't know what I'm going to do. Kelly, it
That's
has
okay.
been super great being with you. And I hope in a year we can come back and your movement has grown. Can you tell everybody where they can connect with you, how they can get your literature, and also those things will be in the link down in the description or the show notes if you're listening to it on Spotify or something like that. But just want them to know, how can they keep up with you?
Yeah. So on my website is restedteacherrebellion.com, and then across the socials, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube,
Mhm.
it's either Rested Teacher Rebellion or Rested Teacher Rebel, depending on how many characters the platform will give me.
Yeah,
So,
it's
yeah.
hard. It is hard to get them all in there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Listen, it has been a lot of fun, and I don't not exactly sure how we met. I know it was just through TikTok,
Yeah.
but I thought maybe I was the only person that was even talking about this issue. But turns out there's a lot. It's a big
Is there?
deal. Yeah,
I haven't seen,
and
I mean, I've seen a few, but
my hope is to encourage teachers, because the number one teacher videos on YouTube are the reason why I quit.
yeah.
They are. They're
Hmm.
absolutely. And it's, they're having an impact and an influence because what the things that they say resonate with teachers all over
Hmm.
America. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way it is at my school. That's exactly what I'm struggling with. They quit, so I should quit too. And before long, we're going to end up in a teacher crisis worse than what it already is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's our goal here at Teacher Talk. And I appreciate you so much for coming on.